Hello sports fans, it is Wednesday, September the 18th, the year 2013, and as usual, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Before we get to our college football picks for the week, let's go through some scores of note from baseball as we are coming down the home stretch in the baseball season. Last night up in Toronto, the Blue Jays deal the Yankees a major blow to their playoff chances. The Blue Jays shut out the Yankees 2-0. R.A. Dickey was spectacular last night. His knuckleball was dancing all over the place. The Yankees just looked befuddled the whole night. Not many hits for the Yankees, not many scoring opportunities. Dickey really shut them down, so a nice win there by the Blue Jays. Bad loss for the Yankees. The Yankees are running out of time. Baltimore goes up to Fenway Park and beats the Red Sox. Nice win by Baltimore. They're still hanging around the wild card spot. How about Chris Davis? 51 home runs. Are you kidding me? A few years ago, Chris Davis couldn't bat his weight. When he played for Texas, he was so bad they sent him to the minors. I never thought he'd turn into this kind of hitter. 51 home runs. He's been spectacular this year. Nice job by Buck Showalter and the Orioles hanging in there the whole way this year. Also last night, the Indians with a big come-from-behind win in Kansas City. The Indians are down 3-0 in this game in the later part of the game, and the Indians come rallying back and win 5-3. Tremendous win by the Indians. Bad loss for Kansas City. What a job Terry Francona has done with the Indians. I mean, did anyone think the Tribe would be this good this year? I mean, they're a half a game out of a wild card spot. Terry Francona's got to be up for Manager of the Year. Texas finally snaps out of their doldrums. They finally get a win. They had lost like 7 in a row. They beat Tampa Bay last night. Washington did beat Atlanta in a doubleheader last night. They swept the doubleheader. Washington is still there, but they're running out of time. Washington's finally playing the type of ball we thought they'd play all year, but they're doing it a little too late. I think they're going to run out of time, Washington. Here's your wild card scenario right now. In the National League, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are your wild card teams. Washington is 4.5 games out, 4 in the loss column, but time is dwindling away. I don't think they're going to have enough time to get back in it. I mean, they've done a nice job to rally to get this close. I think they're going to run out of time, Washington. I think Pittsburgh and Cincinnati make it in the NL. The real race is in the American League. Texas and Tampa Bay right now are tied for the 2 wild card spots. The Indians, believe it or not, are a half a game out, a game in the loss column. Like I said, Terry Francona's got to be up for Manager of the Year. Tremendous job by the Indians this year. Baltimore, 2 games out there, right there. Yankees and Kansas City, 3.5 out, 4 in the loss column. Yankees had a bad loss last night, so did Kansas City. Those 2 teams are in danger because not only are they 4 games out in the loss column to Tampa Bay and Texas, but now they've slipped behind Cleveland and Baltimore. Kansas City and the Yankees have to go on a major winning streak right now. They got to win about 5-6 games in a row. It's got to start tonight. Those 2 teams are running out of time. We only have about a week and a half left in the baseball season. Got to make your move now. All right, so that's kind of where you are in your baseball. I'll tell you, you turn on a baseball game, any baseball game the rest of the way, it's going to have playoff implications. So baseball, this is the time to watch it right now. Okay, without further ado, let's get to our college football picks, and let me say this. It is a light week in college football. I thought we would have a couple decent games. I mean, we have a few decent games, but overall, it is a light week. This could be the worst week in college football the whole year. I was looking at some of the matchups. I mean, some of the big teams are just playing absolute dogs this weekend. I mean, check out some of the matchups this weekend. Number 1 Alabama, home for Colorado State. Are you kidding me? What's the score of that game going to be? Ohio State against Florida A&M? Oh my goodness. I mean, Louisville playing Florida International. That's terrible. Georgia home for North Texas. Give me a break. Washington home for Idaho State. Awful. Northwestern hosting Maine. The Maine Black Bears? I mean, come on. Give me a break. Texas A&M home for SMU. Michigan goes up to Connecticut. Connecticut is an awful team. UCLA hosting New Mexico State. Can it get any worse? Florida State hosting Bethune-Cookman in Week 4 of the college football season. This should be a Week 1 matchup. Bethune-Cookman going to Tallahassee in Week 4. What's the score of that game going to be? 70-0? Here's another one. Miami hosting Savannah State. I mean, what's the crowd going to be in Miami for that one? What are they going to get, about 15,000 for that game? So you have some awful matchups with the big teams playing these little teams. These games should be 56-0. I mean, Alabama, Colorado State, give me a break. So it is tough sledding this week in college football. Before I get to my picks, a few coaches that I mentioned that are in real trouble, that I don't think are going to survive this season. I don't think Kiffin is going to survive at USC. I mean, they had that awful loss at home to Washington State. USC plays Utah State this week. USC has to win. I don't think Kiffin's going to survive. Mac Brown, I think his days are numbered at Texas. Texas plays Kansas State this week. I think Mac Brown is on his way out of Texas. And how about Pelini at Nebraska? He looks like he's digging himself a grave as well, going on a rant about the Nebraska fans. How do you rant about the Nebraska fans? They've sold out every game for like 100 years. You're gonna rant about them? I mean, they have an awful loss to UCLA last week. I don't like what I see at all from Nebraska. Pelini could be on his way out as well. Also, I wanted to mention the Minnesota coach who had a seizure last week. Hopefully he will be back on the sidelines this week. We wish him all the best. He's had seizure problems in the past. And also last week, I forgot to mention Fresno State and Colorado. That game was canceled because of the flooding in Colorado. So we don't know if they're going to make up that game or what date they're going to make up that game. But our condolences go out to all the victims in Colorado with that terrible flooding. Okay, so that was some news and notes from college football. Let's finally get to the picks. It was tough finding picks. It was tough finding games. There's only one matchup between top 25 teams this week, and that's Arizona State against Stanford. And Arizona State shouldn't even be in the top 25. They should have lost to Wisconsin last week. That's when, the officials blew the end of the game, and Wisconsin was all befuddled at the end of that game. They couldn't get a kickoff. The clock ran out. The officials had trouble spotting the ball as the clock was running out. Arizona State should have lost to Wisconsin last week, and they wouldn't be in the top 25. So if you take that into consideration, there are no matchups this week of two top 25 teams. That's how bad it is in college football. With that said, let me start with the Thursday night game tomorrow night. Clemson minus 13.5 at NC State. First of all, let me say this. I don't think college football should be going to go up against the NFL on Thursday night. I'd like them to move that Thursday game to like Wednesday. To me, it'd be nice if we have Monday Night Football. Then Tuesday we get a little break to catch our breath. Then Wednesday we have a college football game. Thursday you got your NFL. Friday another college football game. And then Saturday and Sunday you have your college football and your NFL. I don't like when college football has a Thursday game up against the NFL game. Like tomorrow night you got Eagles-Chiefs. And you got Clemson-NC State at basically the same time. There's nothing worse than when you want to watch two games that are on at the same time. I mean, yeah, you can tape one, but I mean, come on. You want to watch them live. So I cannot stand when that happens. I wish college football would move that Thursday game to Wednesday. I'm sure it has to do with ratings and all sorts of logistics and stuff. To me, I'd rather have the game played on Wednesday. With that said, I am taking Clemson tomorrow, minus 13.5 over NC State. NC State is home in Raleigh. The fans should be going crazy tomorrow. NC State has pulled off upsets in the past, mainly against Florida State. The crowd should be tremendous in Raleigh. I think NC State hangs around for a while. Clemson just has too much firepower for NC State, though. NC State can't go toe-to-toe with Clemson's offense. They'll make it interesting, NC State, for a half, maybe into the third quarter. Then Clemson's offense is going to start to, put this game away. NC State cannot match weapons and firepower with Clemson. I like Clemson minus 13.5 over NC State in Raleigh tomorrow night. I think the crowd's going to be tremendous. I think it's worth watching the game. I think Clemson pulls away late. Okay, let's go to a Friday game. This is an interesting Friday game. Fresno State at home, minus 3 over Boise State. Remember, Boise State already has a loss this year. They lost to Washington. Fresno State, they haven't lost yet. They had a big win against Rutgers in a complete shootout game where Rutgers missed a 2-point conversion, at the end of the game. I think Fresno State is going to have a big year this year. I think if they can get through this game, which I think they can, Fresno State, if you look at their schedule, it's light. I think they can go undefeated. Yeah, I'm saying it right here. Fresno State could go undefeated with their light schedule. It's very light if they can find a way to beat Boise. I don't think this is a vintage Boise State team. They got run over by Washington. They did beat Air Force, but I watched some of that game. They didn't look great in that game. Fresno State's a good home team. I think Fresno State wins this game. I think they cover the 3 points, and I think Fresno State has a shot at going undefeated. Now, are they going to play in the national title game? No, their schedule is atrocious. It's terrible. I do think they can go undefeated, so I like Fresno State at home, -3 over Boise State on Friday night. Okay, let's get to our Saturday matchups, and like I said, they are not great. Probably the best game of the day is the one I said between two top 25 teams, Arizona State at Stanford on the farm. Stanford is 7.5-point favorites over Arizona State. I like Stanford. Arizona State got a complete gift at home last week against Wisconsin. They should have lost. The refs messed up the game. They've already reprimanded those refs. They made a complete mistake. Wisconsin should have won that game. I think Arizona State's on borrowed time. They're never a good road team. Arizona State can do some things at home. They're not a good road team. They're not a good defensive team. Stanford on the farm is very good. They're tough. They're physical. I like the coach. I think Stanford lays the defensive wood on Arizona State, shuts them down. Stanford manhandles Arizona State on Saturday. Stanford -7.5 over the Sun Devils up in the farm in Stanford. Let's go to Baton Rouge, Death Valley, LSU, where the LSU Tigers, ranked number 6, are 17.5-point favorites over Auburn. Both of these teams are undefeated. Listen, I don't think this is the best LSU team ever, but I am not a believer in this Auburn team. Auburn has not played anyone so far. Auburn's going on the road here to an impossible environment. I think LSU shuts down Auburn. I think LSU wins comfortably. They pull away at the end. I like LSU -17.5 over Auburn in Death Valley, Baton Rouge. All right, let's go to the Swamp in Florida. Number 19, Florida, is 17.5-point favorites over Tennessee. This is a big rivalry, although Florida has owned it lately. Tennessee got absolutely whacked by Oregon out in Eugene last week. Florida lost to Miami a couple weeks ago where they couldn't move the ball from here to there. Florida didn't even look like they could move the ball against Toledo in week 1. I don't like Florida's offense. I am not in love with their quarterback. I think they're going to have enough to win this game. I don't think Tennessee can pull the upset. I think Tennessee's going to hang around, though. 17.5 is a lot in a rivalry game. I don't like Florida's offense. They don't score a lot. Plus, Tennessee just played Oregon last week. Compared to, Oregon, Florida's going to look, a lot more comfortable to Tennessee as far as offense goes. Oregon can just run you off the field. Florida doesn't have that type of offense. I think Tennessee will settle into this game. I think it will be more of a defensive game, more Tennessee style. I think Florida wins. I think the spread is a little too high at 17.5. I think Tennessee covers the 17.5 by a whisker, so I like Florida to win, Tennessee with the 17.5 in Gainesville, the Swamp. All right, let's go to South Bend, Indiana, where Notre Dame at home is -7.5 over Michigan State in a big rivalry game. Notre Dame blew out Temple in week 1, lost to Michigan in week 2, struggled and beat Purdue on the road. I didn't like what I saw from Notre Dame last week. They didn't look so good. They did beat a Purdue team who I don't think is any good. Michigan State is 3-0, but they haven't played anyone. This game is generally close, so I'm going to take Michigan State. Once again, I think Notre Dame, wins it. I think Notre Dame wins by maybe a field goal, 4 points. I'm going to take Michigan State with the 7.5 points. This game is always close. It seems like it always comes down to the wire. I mean, I don't love Notre Dame's defense. I don't love Michigan State's offense. I think it'll be, a close game. Notre Dame probably squeaks it out, but I'll take Michigan State with the 7.5 just because it's a big rivalry game. Let's go to BYU, which is a very big rivalry game here. They call it the Holy War. BYU at home, -7.5 over Utah. BYU lost to Virginia. Then they came back and just whacked Texas. Utah last week lost to Oregon State at home. Utah and BYU, it's another one of those matchups that's always close. You always find some wacky, wild thing going on in this game. These two teams do not like each other at all. The game is always wild. It's always wacky. It's always close. I think Utah hangs in there. I'm going to take Utah plus 7.5 against BYU. Listen, do I think BYU is going to win? Probably, but I think the spread's a little too high. I think Utah always hangs in these games. I like Utah plus 7.5 against BYU in a very, very big rivalry game. You want to see a nice rivalry game? check out this game. These two teams don't like each other. They get after each other. And my final pick of the weekend, Michigan minus 17.5 against UConn up in UConn. Very strange matchup. I mean, when's the last time Michigan went up to UConn? Have they ever been to UConn? I mean, very bizarre matchup. UConn's 0-2. They lost to Townsend and they lost to Maryland. The UConn coach is another one that's going to go. Michigan beat Notre Dame, and then they hung on for dear life against Akron, and they should have lost that game. Now, I think Michigan this week, the coach laid into them. I think they are embarrassed by that performance against Akron. I think they just take it all out on UConn this week. I think Michigan buries UConn this week like 52 to like 17 or something like that. Look for Michigan to bombard UConn. Look for Michigan to play their fight song, Hail to the Victors, a million times up there in UConn. UConn is not a good team. They lost to Townsend. What does that tell you? They're 0-2. The coach is going to be fired. He's not going to last. So I like Michigan minus 17 against UConn. So let's review. I like Clemson minus 13.5 against NC State on Thursday night in Raleigh. On Friday, I like Fresno State at home minus 3 over Boise State. I think Fresno State has a big year this year. I like Stanford at home on Saturday up in the farm minus 7.5 over Arizona State. I like LSU at home minus 17.5 against Auburn in Death Valley. I'm going to take Tennessee plus 17.5 in the Swamp in Florida. I think Tennessee just hangs in there and covers the spread. I like Michigan State plus 7.5 against Notre Dame. It's a big rivalry game. I say Michigan State hangs in there. These games are always close. I like Utah plus 7.5 against BYU in the Holy War. These games are always wacky, wild. They always come down to the end. And I like Michigan minus 17.5 up in UConn to just lay the wood on UConn in just a complete demolition. Look for Michigan to hammer UConn this week. So that's where we are. Like I said, very light week in college football. I mean, there is not much going on here. I mean, when Stanford-Arizona State is your best game of the weekend, you're in trouble. No matchups of top 25 teams. Just a bad week in college football. You know it's bad. College Game Day, I think, went to North Dakota State this week. I mean, that's how bad it was, where College Game Day took their show to North Dakota State. When have you ever heard that before? I mean, that's how light it is. Hopefully it'll pick up in the weeks to come. It should. It can't get any worse than this. It's a very bad week in college football, but we did the best we could. Okay, so there you go. There are your picks for college football. As far as tonight, it's definitely a baseball night. Again, every night of the week from here on out is going to be a big baseball night with these playoff implications. Yankees, Toronto, huge tonight. Baltimore, Boston, huge. Cleveland, Kansas City, huge. Tampa Bay, Texas, huge. You know, Washington, Atlanta, huge. You got a lot of big games with playoff implications. Teams fighting for division titles. Teams fighting, you know, for seeding. All sorts of stuff going on right now. So keep an eye on the baseball tonight. Tomorrow you got your college football. Now, as far as tomorrow, our show, wall-to-wall NFL tomorrow. Every game, every pick with the spread, starting with the big Kansas City Chiefs Philadelphia Eagle game, which is on tomorrow night. It's a very interesting game. Kansas City's much improved. The Eagles have a great offense and no defense. The game's in Philadelphia. Andy Reid going back to Philly. Very intriguing game. You got a lot of nice matchups in the NFL this weekend, like Green Bay, Cincinnati is tremendous. Houston, Baltimore. You got a couple others. Wall-to-wall NFL picks tomorrow with the spread. Friday, we'll recap the Thursday night game. We'll recap Philadelphia, Kansas City. We'll also recap the Clemson-NC State game. I think that game will be close for a half. Then Clemson will pull away. We'll also preview the weekend for you, touch on some baseball, college football, you know, NFL, whatever else comes up in the sports world. You know, there's always something that comes up. Okay, you guys are caught up. You guys, thanks for the support. Thanks for tuning in. You guys stay safe. Enjoy the games tonight. It's a baseball night tonight. I will talk to you tomorrow, Thursday, where we do our NFL picks, every game with the spread. Talk to you guys Thursday. Have a great day. Enjoy the games. Take care.